Could an ordinary person become a killer? In 1966, after killing his mother and wife, Whitman climbed to the top of the clock tower at the University of Texas and began a 96-minute indiscriminate shooting. He had been a model Boy Scout, a polite boy next door. In his note, he wrote, "I can't really understand myself. Too many violent thoughts. Please examine my brain." The forensic pathologist followed his wishes and discovered a tumor near the temporal lobe and limbic system. This discovery seems to offer a cold biological explanation for the atrocity. A broken brain made a monster. It perfectly aligns with our intuition that evil originates from abnormal individuals. However, the truth is far more complex. In 1951, Solomon Asch had one subject sat with 7 Confederates and judged the lengths of line segments. First few rounds were fine, but starting in the 3rd round, all the Confederates unanimously pointed to the wrong answer. The only real subject was then drenched in sweat, doubting himself. Ultimately, in more than 1/3 of the cases, the participants abandoned the facts and chose the wrong answer that conformed to the group. When asked why, they admitted that they didn't want to seem out of place. Asch thus wrote that, "One of the most worrying facts of our time is that intelligent and kind young people are willing to call white black." If Asch's experiments merely allowed people to distort facts under the influence of public opinion, then his student Milgram directly pushed his subjects to the brink of murder. In 1961, Milgram recruited a group of citizens to play the role of teachers. Their task was to administer electric shocks to students next door for wrong answers, starting with 15 volt and gradually increasing to 450 volt. The experiment began. Students frequently answered incorrectly, and screams echoed from next door. At 150 volts, students began pleading to stop. At 300 volts, students started pounding on the wall and refused to answer. After 330 volts, the next room fell into dead silence. Although many teachers were in great pain during this process and begged the researchers to stop the experiment, the researchers simply repeated in a cold, emotionless tone, "Please continue. The experiment requires you to continue. You have no choice." The results shattered people's naive illusions about humanity. About 65% of those ordinary citizens pressed the highest lethal 450 voltage, even though they believed they might have killed the person next door. They didn't know the student was an actor, or the electric shock was fake, but the intention to press the button and the obedient soul were real. It turns out that the distance between an ordinary person and evil is only a single command that leaves you with no other choice. 10 years later, Philip Zimbardo pushed this probing of the situation to its extreme. He wanted to know whether, aside from external forces such as group pressure and authoritative commands, a given role and environment alone could be enough to make good people do evil from within. In the basement of Stanford University, he built a mock prison. 24 mentally and physically healthy male college students were randomly assigned to be prisoners and guards. The prisoners were stripped of their names and referred to only by their numbers, while the guards wore uniforms, sunglasses to conceal their eyes, and carried batons. At first, everyone was somewhat playful and joking, but the power of the situation quickly escalated, pushing everyone towards a point of no return. Guards began tormenting prisoners. They rallied prisoners in the middle of the night, confiscated their beds, forced them to wash toilets by hand, subjected them to personal humiliation, and even sprayed them with fire extinguishers. The prisoners quickly became submissive, numb, and repressed. Just 36 hours later, one prisoner exhibited a strong emotional reaction and was taken away. Zimbardo himself, as the warden, was deeply involved. He instructed the guards and tacitly approved of the escalation of violence. Only when his girlfriend, Maslak, visited him and was shocked by the scene that she angrily questioned Zimbardo. "What have you done to these boys?" Only then did Zimbardo immediately ended the experiment. Although the Stanford Prison experiment was controversial, it proved that the distance between us and evil may only be a uniform. The problem isn't just the bad apple, but the bad barrel that can rot any apple. Those sunglasses, that unequal power structure, all are the breeding grounds for violence. Our supposedly indestructible nature crumbles in the situation and role. However, the decline of humanity has not yet reached its bottom. There is a more pervasive form of complicity: silence. Psychologists had college students chat with others via walkie-talkie. During the conversation, one student suddenly had an epileptic seizure, emitting cries for help and falling to the ground. The results showed that when the participants believed they were the only listeners, almost all of them rushed out of the room to call for help. When they thought there were 5 other bystanders present, only 60% took action. Those who did not act were equally restless upon hearing the cries for help, but they hesitated, thinking perhaps someone else would help. Ultimately, collective observation led to collective silence, and this very silence could become the catalyst for killing someone. These experiments seem to prove that we are all puppets pulled by the threads of our circumstances. Is there no possibility for us to break free? A summer camp organized by psychologist Sharif provided the answer. He randomly divided 22 boys into 2 groups and easily turned the 2 groups into bitter enemies. The once innocent children stole from each other, insulted each other, and burned each other's flags. Then Sharif devised a series of missions that could only be completed by the 2 teams working together. The camp's water supply went out, and all the boys had to work together to unclog the pipes. A food truck broke down, and everyone had to push it together. Through these shared struggles, the animosity began to dissolve. Boys started offering each other water bottles, chanted slogans together while pushing the truck. By the end of the summer camp, the members of both teams were inseparable, even requesting to ride home on the same bus. Although the experimental method was quite controversial, the results are supported by many subsequent research. Creating enemies only requires a label of us and them, while building friends only requires a common goal. In 1971, Aronson brought this to racially tense schools. He invented the jigsaw puzzle classroom, breaking down learning content into fragments so that children of different ethnicities each master a part. They must teach and listen to each other to piece the complete picture of knowledge. In this collaborative model, prejudice and discrimination are dismantled. Respect and friendship slowly begin to sprout. Circumstances can both nurture evil or good. Therefore, in his later years, Zimbardo shifted his research focus from why people turn bad to how people become heroes. He believed that each of us is both a product and a creator of our circumstances. Every act of standing up against injustice, every appeal that breaks the silence, every small act of kindness changes the micro-situations around us. And countless such micro-situations will eventually converge into a torrent of the times, determining whether our world becomes a prison or a summer camp. We can no longer casually declare ourselves good people. Instead, we must act as good people at every crossroads in life. We are the sum of past social influences, but we are also the starting point for all future social choices. Ultimately, what defines us is not the identity, but rather, after witnessing the full fragility and depravity of human nature, our choice, to light a torch or to become part of the darkness.